I'm Nancy Showalter, and you're listening to Spirituality for the Politically Incorrect podcast. Welcome, all radical paradigm shifters and creative change makers. You who dare to create a better life and a better world. Tap into the power that resides within you and use that power for constructive change. Hello and welcome to today's episode entitled In the Beginning. What do I mean, in the beginning? What I mean is we're going to go back from the very time you were born, the first 3 years of your life, which most of us don't remember, or at least not much of, if anything. Nevertheless, research has shown that what we experience and learn from our parents and environment those first 3 years influences the rest of our lives. There was a study published in Child Development, and this is back in 2014, but they found that how a child is treated by its parents in the first 3.5 years can impact his or her life up to 30 years later. This includes impacting education, social life, and romantic relationships. So now, interestingly, the study showed that babies and toddlers that were raised in supportive and caring home environments were more likely to get along with their peers, do better on standardized tests later on, and were more likely to attain higher degrees as adults. Keep in mind, in those early years, we're like little sponges that absorb everything around us, even the feelings and attitudes of our parents, not just what they say and do. And as we grow older and learn to talk, then we also hear what our parents, teachers, people on television, religious leaders, etc. are saying, which of course is also absorbed by us. During these years of growing up, we also learn attitudes about money. Your parents may or may not have discussed money in front of you. Nevertheless, there is a general attitude that pervades a home. And if they did not discuss money with you, then that also teaches you something. Is money not important? Is it a taboo or secret subject? Believe it or not, some parents have a shroud around the subject, and even if it's discussed, it's always somewhat of a mystery to the rest of the family. For my family, I know money was considered a private thing, and it was not discussed openly with friends or neighbors, or even with extended family. Now, on the other hand, maybe your parents argued and fought about money. Maybe they told you things about money from their perspective, such as money doesn't grow on trees, you don't need to be rich, just work hard, support your family, and that's enough. Or money is the root of all evil, and on and on. Or perhaps you were blessed with parents who had an abundance of money, and it was just natural for you to know money was always easy to come by. Whatever your upbringing, all of these experiences had an impact and helped form your belief system about money, about what you were capable of achieving, and what dreams and aspirations you would have for your life. Whatever your early environment was, and just because you may have been exposed to negative ideas about money or your capabilities, in no way means that you are limited by your early experiences. Many times when a child lives in poverty, or is told he or she cannot achieve something, it turns out to be the very impetus for determining to have a different life. So all I'm trying to say is that as you go forward to achieve your dreams and goals, you need to take a look at your subconscious beliefs that you learned as a child that might be either holding you back, causing you to reach a ceiling on your accomplishments, or are actually causing you to sabotage yourself as you get close to achieving your dreams. Much of these very early experiences are not even in your conscious mind. Rather, they are unconscious beliefs formed before you had the intellectual capacity or the direct experience to choose for yourself what you believed about money. So let's think back. What specifically did you hear from your parents or guardians about money? Think back to some of their favorite expressions. especially when you were asking them to buy you something or when you wanted a raise in your allowance. Did they buy you just about whatever you wanted? Did they go on about how money doesn't grow on trees and you have to work hard and struggle to earn money? Did they give you an allowance without doing anything to earn it? Or did you have to do chores you had to accomplish in order to earn your allowance? Then take a look at how you currently feel about money and consider how your early experiences may have influenced you. Do you believe you have to work hard and struggle to earn money? Or do you think you shouldn't have to work hard? Are you willing to work? Or do you tend to want everything handed to you? Do you stick to a job when it gets tough, or do you give up when things get challenging? Perhaps even your parents felt like they were victims of the system. Rather than making the system work for them, or rising above the limitations of what they perceived in the system, they let that become their limitations. Or maybe they achieved in spite of the system and any other limitations upon them. So you have to ask yourself, how do you feel about the system? Do you feel like you're a victim of forces beyond your control? When it comes to being rich, it's important to consider what your parents thought about and said about people that were rich. Maybe they themselves were rich. How did they feel about that? Amazingly, some people who have plenty of money and don't really want for anything do not feel like they're rich. Or they fear losing what they have. If your parents weren't rich, how did they feel about people who were rich? Did they admire them and aspire to achieve also? Were they satisfied with where they were and just considered being rich to each his own? It's not important to me. So how important is being rich to you? Is it a driving force for you? Not important to you? Or just part of an abundant life that everyone deserves? Again, did your parents resent the rich? Did they think and say that rich people are selfish? All of these attitudes are influential on the young minds and consciousness of children. And they are particularly important in that this subtle programming could be holding you back from becoming rich or wealthy or living the abundant life, however you want to call it. If you take the time to look at your early childhood and the potential influences on your thinking and beliefs about living a prosperous life, you can learn a lot about yourself and what might be holding you back from becoming rich. So let's take this week and jot down in your journal or just on a piece of paper, what were the things you heard as a child from parents, society in general, school, whatever, church? What did you hear? And then take those statements and reverse them. Put them into a positive statement. For instance, if your parents may have said, money does not grow on trees, you could possibly reverse that statement by saying, for instance, you could say, I now draw from the abundance of the spheres my immediate and endless supply. So take this time to identify those negative thoughts and reverse them into positive statements, and then give those affirmations daily. Prosperity is a very important aspect of our life, not just financially, but living the abundant life in every area, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your spirituality, whether it is your work and education, and of course your flow of financial abundance. So let this week be another week of introspection on these subjects, and I will see you next week. Until then, keep an open mind, a generous heart, and a powerful spirit. Thank you for being with me today, and if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, download, and comment. I'd love to hear from you, and your support is much appreciated. And don't forget to go to theawakeningnow.com for free bonuses and information on my new book, You Were Born to Be a Christ, But You Were Taught You Are a Sinner. Awaken to who you really are. See you next week.